Hi. For our next segment, we're going to talk about the Arc of California here. Basically, what we want to talk about is a global statewide advocacy organization, and the Arc is certainly the leader in that area. And also, as we get into this, maybe we can talk a little bit about the Lanterman Coalition and all of that. We're joined today with Jordan Lindsay, who is the executive director of the Arc of California here. And so, Jordan, thank you for joining us today. And can you tell us a little bit about the Arc of California?
Sure. Thanks, Steve, very much for inviting me to this really important discussion that you're having. The Arc of California is an advocacy organization for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. The ARC is a national organization, the ARC of California. We represent and advocate for individuals with IDD and their families. We also have chapters, local chapters throughout the state who are providers of supports and services to individuals with developmental disabilities. So we have about 22 local chapters across the state as well.
Fantastic. And Jordan, can you tell us a little bit about the age group that you serve with the Arc of California?
Sure, absolutely. So we advocate in our chapters provide services and supports for all ages, the span from 0 to 99. However, in California, those are kind of differentiated among certain age groups. There is the 0 to 3, which often is served by our early start services. That's early intervention services for the babies and young kids. And then, of course, they transition into school age. And so the types of services and supports that providers that are rendered by regional centers may differ for those ages because school districts also are responsible for providing certain services and supports. And then once they transition out of school, then they're into adult services and supports, things that may be like supported employment services or independent living services or day services. However, we do advocate for the entire lifespan of individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families.
Great. Jordan, I know a big part of what the ARC does is advocacy. How do you do that? How do you do that? And I know there's this thing called the Lanterman Coalition. So can you give us some idea about how that works and what is the power behind the advocacy of the ARC in California?
Yeah, that's a really fantastic question. Our community relies entirely on advocacy and has from the very beginning. When it was 50, 60 years ago, and it was moms, because it's almost always moms, advocating for their children who were secluded from schools, who, when they became an adult, were secluded from inclusion in the community. And it was moms back then advocating for more home and community-based types settings of services and supports. And it continues to be parents who drive the advocacy effort now. And there are organizations like the ARC of California being the oldest and the largest, but there are others as well that represent different areas of the community. The workforce being represented by labor, service providers being represented by a trade association. There are the regional centers being represented as well. And we all work together collaboratively as often as possible to advocate and move forward policy issues that are going to improve the lives of individuals with disabilities in California. And so we do have a coalition, and it is named the Lanterman Coalition, and it's a powerful coalition that has really been the driving force behind many of the really big proposals and budget investments that have been made over the last decade. And that coalition, named after the Lanterman Act, of course, which created the entitlement to services and supports in California. The Lanterman Coalition really seeks to find common ground and policies that we can move forward together. And we've been really successful in doing that. I happen to chair the Lanterman Coalition in my position as executive director of the ARC of California. And then beyond that, what we really do is we rely on the efforts of people across the state. It is a movement. It continues to be a movement. It was a movement 50 years ago. It's a movement today. And it's a movement of people who care and are passionate about people with developmental disabilities. More and more so, it's a movement by people with developmental disabilities themselves, and of course, continues to be a movement by families of individuals with disabilities. And how that plays out is people getting knowledgeable, and they increase their knowledge about what is happening in terms of the policy world, what is happening in the state legislature, what's happening in Washington, D.C., and how do they get involved. And that's where we try to come in. We try to provide the tools and resources so that our advocates, our grassroots community across the state, can take action when it's time to do so, so that we can collectively have power to influence the decisions that are being made by lawmakers. And it is that power which is in that drives everything forward for us. And that power is entirely our people. It is the number of individuals across the state that we have who are involved, who care about, and who are willing to take time and their effort and energy to put in advocacy effort themselves, to help improve the lives of people with disabilities.
How can one get involved with the ARC? How can one integrate with the ARC? What kind of opportunities do we have?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Great question. So, whether you consider yourself an advocate or whether you just want to be informed about what is happening in the disability community in California, one of the best ways to stay informed and then to also become an advocate as a result, if you choose to do so, is through the information that we send out. And one of the primary ways we do that is through what we call our Monday morning memo. That's where we summarize and wrap up everything that has happened in the prior week, things that are coming forth in the week ahead, and that are really a prioritization for the developmental disability community as a whole. This may include new policy proposals that are being discussed in Sacramento or Washington, D.C. This may be new trainings and webinars that are happening to really make sure that everybody is knowledgeable about what is happening. It could be, really hot topic issues that are like, for example, right now there's a lot of discussion about conservatorships. And so we have commentaries and discussions about that in our Monday morning memo. And then we usually include, of course, a call to action, how people can take that next step if they care about that issue that's being discussed. Here's how you can contact your legislator, or here's how you can provide your input, or here's how you can become involved in this discussion that's happening, or how to attend this training or webinar. So the Monday morning memo that we put out is really a fantastic way to make sure that you are informed and also empowered to take action to improve the lives of Californians with disabilities.
Terrific. So, I will tell you, I read the Monday morning memo every Monday here, and I would say it takes me about 6 or 7 minutes, and I find, and I don't read everything word for word. I'm sorry, Jordan, but I'm able to bring myself up to speed on what are the important issues that affect me, the people I serve, the people I care about. And I often will forward that to a lot of my fellow professionals and also families and persons with disabilities. I think it's an incredible way to keep up with what's going on. I know as far as advocacy is concerned also, there is a fair amount of education that goes on. I hear there's this conference thing that happens once a year.
Yeah, so that's another way that we try to make sure people are informed and have the latest information and sort of set collectively an agenda for the year. These are the things that we as a community want to highlight and talk about. And we use our annual public policy conference as really that forum for us. And the last couple of years, it has been virtual, which has really allowed us to expand and increase the access to people across the state. And we partner that conference with United Cerebral Palsy this year, as well as Easter Seals, to really talk about the priorities that have not only risen to the top, but that we also feel like need to be discussed. Maybe these are the issues that haven't risen to the top, but we know that they should. And we need to make sure that we're talking about them publicly and getting them out. And so another fantastic way to stay involved. We just finished one in the spring but we'll be doing again next spring another policy conference.
So another thing we're trying to focus on in this series is exploring what kind of services and outreach you have with people with different cultural backgrounds, with different languages, and that kind of thing. Is there anything in that area that you especially focus on?
Yeah, this is a real, speaking about priorities that need to be discussed, this is an area that we're really pushing forward. There has been documented and data to support disparities, racial disparities within the DD system in California. There are probably and likely racial disparities in many systems in our state and across our country, especially in the health and human services sector. But we have the data to show that there is a difference in the purchase of services, how many dollars are being spent for individuals, consumers who are white versus non-white. And so we want to make sure that we, again, are providing information and opportunities for empowerment for all communities. And one of the ways that we've decided to do that at the Arc of California is, we were translating information and providing interpreters in Spanish for all these different things we were doing, but we said that's not enough. And our board really committed to creating a native experience for our Spanish-speaking disability community in California. And as a result, we created and launched El Arc de California. Not a real tricky name, but it is our companion movement in Spanish. So it's not just taking what we do in English and for our English-speaking community and thinking that we are doing enough by translating that. We believe that there needs to be a dedicated experience and movement for the specific needs and unique situations of the Spanish-speaking disability community in California. So we're lucky enough to have an incredible advisory committee from leaders across the state. We also intend to have a summit in the fall, in September, to bring leaders from the Spanish-speaking disability community from all across the state together to have a summit to really create a policy platform for the Spanish-speaking community about what is going to help lessen these disparities within California and to better support families and individuals who are in the Spanish-speaking community to be served by the available supports and services.
Fantastic. So we were exploring your website, and and I would encourage folks to go to check out the Arc of California website, which just has so many things on it.
Sure. Well, starting with the website, I think it's a great place to start. And it is hopefully accessible for everybody who goes there. And there is a lot of, under our info and resources, there's a lot of those different topics, some of which I've already mentioned today, where if you are wanting to get information on a specific topic that relates to the developmental disability community, you can hopefully find that there with links to other resources or resources that we provide as well. There's also great ways to get connected to our chapters on our website, our local chapters, and that doesn't mean that you have to be an individual in need of supports and services. You can just try to get connected as a member with them, get connected as trying to support their efforts locally as well. And then you can also get connected with our advocacy efforts. And you can even sign up not only for the Monday Morning Memo, but for our advocacy action list as well, where you'll get specific emails about, hey, it's time to take action with an email, tweet, or call, and we make that very easy for you to do. So all of that is available on the website as well. And other than that, the Arc of California is and always has been driven by families, and I think that's really important to know. Steve serves on our board, and we're so thankful for you doing so, Steve, because you bring an incredible expertise. And the vast majority of the board of directors is parents or individuals with disabilities themselves, and that just shapes who we are. That is our DNA. That is the Arc of California's DNA. Is parents who are always have been and always will be passionately committed to supporting their child and supporting the community as a whole, to provide the most inclusive, best opportunities possible for the community.
So we're going to close this in just a moment here. And Jordan, thank you so much for sharing with us. I'll just tell you my perspective, as a professional here, the advocacy, the Monday morning memo, all of that from the ARC, it helps me better understand the people that I serve. It also gives me resources that I can send to my clients and my beneficiaries here so that they can be better connected with the community and sometimes better understand this incredibly confusing system that we have.
Yeah, I agree with you, Steve, and want to just highlight what you said, that it can be a very complex system of services and supports. And we hope one of our goals is to give a roadmap for individuals, families, professionals as they become more and more involved with the community to understand regional center services, IHSS, SSI, Medi-Cal, CalAble, Special Needs Trust, all these different things that are interwoven that all are kind of the ecosystem around a person's life that ultimately all work together, hopefully, to support that individual. And that's what we want to make sure, that all different parts of that ecosystem are informed and have the resources available so that individuals have very person-centered experience and feel very supported as they seek their best opportunities throughout the community.
Okay. Well, anyway, thank you for joining us today, Jordan, and sharing, with us information about the ARC. Once again, this is an organization that, once again, not only provides a lot of education, but it also provides an opportunity to get involved.
Thank you for inviting me, Steve.